I love cookies. I love cookies. I love cookies. I love cookies.
Welcome to Cookies, the postseason basketball podcast. I'm Ben Detrick. Jordan Redaelli is on vacation. Andrew Kuo, thankfully, has stepped up and wants it more.
I'm in procedure mode, baby. I'm ready for this.
Do you trust the procedure?
I do trust the procedure. I think you got to believe in your Cantars and your Kembas, all the Ks. Preferably 2 or 4. A combination of 2 or 4 Ks.
We are talking about Boston, though.
Pat Connaughton is a lock to sign there next year, right?
I was just trying to avoid the 3K joke about the Beantown. So we're now official off-season mode because
Feels
the
great.
playoffs are over. The lottery's over. The draft is over. Free agency underway. And already, after, 3-4 days, a lot of the big chips have fallen.
That's true.
But before we talk about basketball,
No!
which the podcast is ostensibly about, were you watching the Democratic debates at all?
I watched both. First night, it was kind of lackluster, right? You didn't have the big stars, but you had Elizabeth Warren. That was cool. I was really waiting for the second night because clearly I'm a Yang Gang member. I really like his whole thing, but it was pretty entertaining. Joe Biden took some, he was on the ropes a little bit.
I gotta say, your man Yang, I don't know if he wanted it.
It's hard to tell, right? Like, he was in the corner waiting to bomb those high percentage threes, the smartest shot in the game, but just no one would pass. There was too much hero ball going on.
I was a little disappointed by Mr. Yang. He didn't really come out with a lot of passion. There was accusations that his microphone wasn't on.
He said that.
Right, that he couldn't
He couldn't interrupt.
he couldn't interrupt, etc. I don't know how the apparatus works. I would not be surprised if there is some sort of system in place where they try to avoid heavy crosstalk involving the also-rans.
Yeah.
Like Warren, you're allowed to say whatever you want.
Of course.
But
it's showbiz, man.
you can't let Yang jump in and dominate the debate. Like, I would also put those sort of safeguards in place.
Oh, absolutely. And people blame, like, the mainstream media for shaping this thing. And that happens, and that's a legit gripe, but you can't have the Yang Gang dominating. And I don't think he wanted to dominate the ball. Like, I think he's great. Like, before that debate, he was like, I have answers to all these questions, but you have to remember me as the guy who wants to give you $1,000. That's where it starts. And then he's like, yeah, foreign policy, like, this is what I would do. The economy, this is what I would do. I wrote a book about it. But he's like, just remember me as the $1,000 guy. And that's what he did.
And maybe we'll remember him as the guy who calls alt-right fascist provocateurs, quote, journalists. So, there's all different places for
Right.
that 4chan favored candidate to go.
The no tie move was great.
I like that part.
Yeah.
Yeah, his ties to the loonies of the libertarian side are a little dicey.
What'd you think of the L Train Williamson?
But hold on, before I talk about her, who
Okay.
is incredible,
Incredible.
Yang's basketball takes are good.
They're good. Although he occasionally slips up and mentions culture, everything else is tight.
Boomer tendencies?
Always, we all have to shed our boomer tendencies because the actual boomers have drilled it into our minds. So when we say like, the Nets have a plan, the Nets have math behind their side, the Nets have smart people and the right culture, I'm like, 3 for 4 is good enough.
And we're obviously going to discuss the intricacies of the Knicks and Nets off seasons to date. But Yang said, quote, on a tweet, "The weirdest thing is the Knicks just overpaid role players instead of taking on other contracts for draft picks. It's like they didn't even watch what the Nets just did." That to me sounds like a procedure truster.
Oh my God, yeah, he's a hinkyite for sure, as they're called.
And he's also correct. But we will talk about that later. And Marianne Williamson, the L Train,
Crushed it.
Woman, she Zion.
So efficient, man. She had like one soundbite and she crushed it.
Yeah, I don't know what sort of pharmaceuticals or adaptogens.
Life, man. Like the seventh dimension.
Yeah, she seemed like an actress from 1965 who is recounting her faded glory.
An old folk singer, like from the 80s, maybe.
Yeah, walking around her dilapidated Hollywood mansion with mice scurrying amongst like the grand piano that's covered with a dusty sheet.
Just spitting bars of truth.
Just dropping truth bombs about the world, but the other people are afraid to think.
Yeah, I mean, it's sort of like how Twitter behaves, right? Because everyone is just like, okay, we have to talk all about this stuff, and like we got to go through A, B, and C and D before we can get to E. And then she just rolls in and be like, boring, and they're like, I'm with her, and just like everyone has done like the heavy lifting, right? But shout out to that. Would you call that trolling? What she did?
I don't know. Imagine if her microphone hadn't been cut off by the powers that be.
She wasn't censored by the mainstream media.
I think the conventional wisdom on who won the debates fell in line with my observations or my feelings about it when I was watching, because I saw both of them. And Kamala Harris, who is a cop, had a good debate. She scored a zinger. She dunked on Biden.
Oh, the food fight line or the
Food fight line was so corny.
It was so corny. That fell flat for sure.
Like she was waiting for the first time there was a minor skirmish to drop a food fight. Like that's talking. That's not a food fight.
Yeah, and she should have asked everyone for their IDs afterwards.
I mean, it was a bad metaphor. It didn't even make sense. Hey, everybody, this isn't a food fight, but we're talking.
Yeah.
I did not see one rotten tomato. Not one. But, yeah, she's obviously an enormous cop. Like the top cop.
Got her way by copping.
But she did dunk
Got
on.
to her way.
She did dunk on old Joe.
It's so easy, right? Because, like,
So easy to dunk
his
on.
whole thing is just like, remember Obama? I was there. And everyone's just like, yeah, but now we're here, so it's a bummer.
Yeah, that was my biggest takeaway, was that Biden's strength, which would be, I was part of the administration that now we wax back on nostalgically and wished that we were still seeing in the White House this lovely family, this pickup basketball player, old weird Joe that didn't really have any power but was kind of hanging out in a rocking chair, that he can rekindle those feelings of warmth. But when he's up there talking about his accomplishments, he's like, yeah, but the Brady Bill, you're like, bro, we don't care about the Brady Bill. Like, look at America right now.
Yeah.
Every time he cited something that he was part of, the instant response in my mind was, yeah, that didn't work. We're here now.
Yeah,
so
right.
Everything that you're boasting about shows your own ineffectiveness historically.
Yeah, and he's getting up there being like, guys, I'm a boomer. You can trust me. You know, I was in Congress for this long and I did all these things. And we're like, oh, you did? It's just like, I get credit for all this legislation that passed. And they're like, yes, you do.
You're like, but there's Confederates marching in our streets.
Yeah.
And you want credit for something you did 15 years ago?
And that's where Harris got him, right? He was trying to be like, listen, we take the high road, even if we disagree at a fundamental level. And she's like, what are you talking about? And that kind of resonated better, right?
You know, without drawing all sorts of NBA comparisons, that exact move is like that regressive boomerism ideology. When your default is wrong. You're like, well, but winning culture. And you're like, no, it doesn't work like that. And you look at the person like they're crazy, like, did you not hear me? I said winning culture.
Yeah.
Like, what's not conveying?
I mean, I sat here and said first to the gym, last to leave. I don't know what the problem is.
I want it more. I want it enough.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought Biden. You know, we talked about the finals. If the Bucks were going to win, and Toronto, whatever, we talked about those teams and the matchups.
That was fun.
And yeah, good times. And you realize within 5 or 10 minutes of the game, when you see it being played out, what works
You know
and
right
what
away.
doesn't.
Well, we said that about the finals, right? How Draymond behaves in the first 5 minutes, we'll know everything.
Right. If Dre was against Kawhi or Dre was against Giannis,
See some transition.
what happens? And
Yeah.
we will learn right away.
Yeah.
Or we will have insights right away.
Yes, exactly.
And that's what it was with Biden. As soon as he started talking about stuff from 1986, you're like, dude, no one cares.
Yeah.
And you look so old and Botoxy, and there's little Elvin Buttigieg next to him. It just made him look decrepit.
Buttigieg looked good. Like, he was very presidential. But I thought, while I was watching, I thought, they had audio problems both nights. But the second night, the candidates couldn't quite hear the questions. And even Yang was like, excuse me, did you ask me a question? And he leaned in to hear it again. But when Biden does that, it looks so bad because he's so much older than everybody. So you're like, is he losing his hearing? Can he do this job?
I'm sorry, did you say something about winning culture?
Sonny boy, speak up.
Second round draft picks? No, we don't need them. Yeah, I thought Warren did what she was supposed to do, and so did Bernie. Like, those are the candidates I've been digging.
Oh, you like Burn Dog? I thought he kind of got lost in the shuffle.
No, I didn't think either of them were particularly great. They just did what they do.
Yeah.
No one wanted it with Warren. It was interesting.
Warren is
People were
interesting.
down to go after Beto. They were down to argue. People did not want smoke with Warren in that first debate.
Yeah, rest in peace, Beto, man. He flamed out like the New York Knicks in '99.
Wigginsy.
Wiggins-esque, man.
I mean, he might be the Wiggins.
Well, we really liked him. Did we like Wiggins in Kansas? Like, we really liked him against Ted Cruz. That was fun. Only because of our dislike of Ted Cruz.
Beto had wingspan. Beto was out there doing spin moves against 5'2" Canadians. It looked good.
Dribble bias. He kind of reminded us of our Michael Jordan, Obama.
Also, though, he was doing Obama-isms in his cadences, much like Wiggins or Advocates' Maple Mambas
Oh, that's
are out there
soon.
imitating the Cobra monster. And Beto does the exact Obama impersonation when he's up there on stage, that professorial, halting way of talking. And it doesn't really translate when he's out there with other people who aren't melting.
Well, yeah, like in hoops, right? It's like you could look like Michael Jordan all you want, like Tim Thomas, but you're just not as good as telling stories as Obama is. And he'd be like, this reminds me of a person I met once. And we're like, oh my God, this guy.
Yeah, Beto was out there on the playground with like compression elbow sleeve, headband, spanking new freaks. And I was like, oh, you can't play basketball.
But you look the part.
You look good.
Yeah.
You were out there looking gnarly doing the Denzel Washington empty park, invisible basketball, invisible defender.
Yeah.
Oh, you're filthy.
Yeah.
Anyway, I thought the debates were kind of fun, or are we just jumping the gun on this entire experience? It's 18 months away, 15 months away.
Yeah, I mean, there's a case to be made that like nothing matters at this point in the last election. Jeb, I think, was leading the Republicans, but in like sports, but like the regular season doesn't matter, or you just have to watch the last 2 minutes of a game. I'm like, well, if you're into it, you're into it, and you just follow it. If you just want to know the result, then you're just not into it. Just you find out the result, you know?
I mean, what's the ramifications of these debate performances probably don't matter down the line, but in the short term, one suspects they might dictate some funding.
Oh, 100%.
So that would be the thing is, okay, Harris goes out, looks strong. It kind of affects the betting line, so to speak. Oh, I'm going to give her some money. I think she looks good. And if you were a Beto guy, you might not be interested in giving Beto another $100.
And this is the interesting thing with Yang Gang is like, I think he got a lot of attention and the degree of the support he got and followers on Twitter kind of went up exponentially compared to everyone else because he's starting at a lower place. But sort of like what you were saying with matchups in a final series or a conference final series, you see the minute he started talking, I'm like, yeah, man.
He doesn't have it.
No, it's not going to work out. And he knows it. Like, I've tried to listen to everything he said on podcasts and the WWW. And he's great. And he's like, hey, I think I can win, but if I don't, I'm standing on stage next to Biden. Like, fight me. This is already a W for me, you know?
Sure. It's just the basketball analogy is perfect.
Yeah.
If he was out there and absolutely magnetic, you might be convinced. He was up there, he's whatever. He was a guy.
Yeah.
He's in this over his head.
Yeah. But to that point, Buttigieg looked magnetic and presidential, but he's sliding. Like, he had a great debate, and his popularity is sliding because of his policy in his home state. Like, that's not getting great attention now. But it's hard to tell. So this is where the nihilism comes in. It's just like, it just doesn't matter, right? Like, you could look great, doesn't matter. You could look bad, it doesn't matter. All these forces kind of behave in ways that are predictable, but the randomness always comes in, and you can't explain that randomness there, and you just stop caring.
And every single time in both debates, it would be shifted over to a middle-aged or older white guy. I just assumed it was like a Hickenlooper. Like
That sounds right.
It's like a Plumlee.
Yeah.
There was sort of I don't know what you'd call them. What's a group of like old white guys, like a fantasy baseball league?
High school reunion.
There's a bunch of those dudes, like a car dealership of.
Yeah, the Boston Celtics.
But I actually don't know who they were, and they didn't say the candidate's name every time they came up.
Yeah, I mean that was odd. The production value of MSNBC kind of was hurting a bit.
I would just squint. Is that Ann Hickenlooper?
Is that what's a plural of Hickenlooper? Hickenloopi?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll do that. Those Hickenloopi don't have a chance against the burn dog.
Or the Yang Gang. Yeah, Bernie was just Bernie, and he wasn't particularly good. He just howled about the same issue that he always does, which...
And they try to get him, right? Like, they try to be like, okay, can you... we'll give you another 10 seconds. Can you just answer the question? And he wouldn't. We're like, classic burn dog.
No dice.
Not on my watch.
It's like, I'm going to just holler raspily about income and wealth inequality. Yeah. And you're going to have to deal with it.
It reminds me of the Yang Gang quote about the Nets and Knicks, right? Like, you have a plan, you have a good philosophy, and the Knicks just have hope. And I'm like, that sounds like Bernie. It's like, we're going to do this. I'm like, okay, how? It's like, we're going to get it done. I'm like, well, with what? And they're like, trust me. And we're like, we kind of do.
Speaking of this, Bernie's from Brooklyn. You may know of this place.
Streets.
You might have heard
the
about
concrete
this
jungle
borough of New York City. There are such notables as Biggie Smalls, Smith and Wesson,
Cocoa Brothers, Helter Skelter,
Originu gun clappers featuring Strange Wonder,
Louisville Slugger.
I forget the other guy, Sean Price.
Louisville Slugger.
He was in. No, there was a third one though.
Oh. It was Sean Price, rest in peace, right?
No, but he was in Helter Skelter with
That's
Rock,
right.
Ruck and Rock.
Getting my BCC all confused.
Anyway, street art, water towers, pizza pies, 2 NBA All-Stars.
Woo!
The most surprising moment, or at least
the most dramatic
moment was the unveiling of where Kevin Durant was going to go. Because we had heard that Kyrie was interested in coming to Brooklyn. And then it kind of sort of was whispered and then immediately was known. They're going together. So Kevin Durant, recovering from an Achilles injury, and Kyrie, recovering from a brain revelation, are both
He's constantly in a brain revelation.
Yeah, are both coming to play for the Brooklyn Nets. How do you feel about that?
Amazing. They pulled it off. It's incredible. I love it. Where did we start? In a vacuum, they got the players they got the value everyone wanted, right? The 2 players that kind of fit together with multiple teams. The Knicks, the Clippers could use them. The Lakers could certainly use one of them. But the fact that they both went to Brooklyn was incredible. As a Knicks fan who's been watching all this stuff happen, I was 50% super jealous, 50% relieved.
To me, it's not quite a slam dunk. Of course it is. Of course it is. It's a huge victory. It's a validation of Billy King's plan that he set in motion when he swindled Danny Ainge several years ago and led to the destruction of the Boston Celtics franchise and the rebirth, the growing of an orchard to the moon of the Brooklyn Nets. Billy King, longest view in the room.
Joseph Tsai.
But Joseph Tsai, owner of the New York Liberty and the Nets. Russian oligarchs. Здравствуйте, как дела?
Go off, King.
But Kyrie is really good, and he's abandoned the last two teams he was part of. Kevin Durant is coming off of an Achilles injury. This is not quite LeBron James and Anthony Davis in terms of the baggage. For one, Durant's not going to play for a year and has an injury that affects players a lot.
The reason I say I was 50% relieved is because that injury is very serious. And we have a small history, but a clear history of what players look like afterwards. So DeMarcus Cousins certainly looked like a max player 2 years ago before he sustained the same injury Durant did, and now is untouchable. So we assume Durant's going to come to maximum strength again, maybe in 2 or 3 years. He signed a 4-year deal, I believe. It might not work out because Karis LeVert's also a restricted free agent, and I don't want to get into the weeds too much. Vibe-wise, there's a huge risk there that I would take 10 out of 10 times.
Well, Andrew Kuo, Cookie's co-host, I'm going to name a couple guys with Achilles injuries. Chauncey Billups, Kobe
Knicks
Bryant,
legend,
Elton Brand,
Brand Dog,
Pierre Jackson, Dominique Wilkins,
Rudy Gay.
Wes Matthews.
That's right.
There's not a great history of
Boogie Cousins.
full recovery.
Yeah, there's zero. No one recovered fully. And this is gross. I didn't Google this, but I thought to myself, you know how they say, like, when you sustain that injury, one leg becomes shorter than the other, just like by a fraction, maybe less than an inch, but it happens? Is it because, and this is really gross, they have to dig for that tendon and find both ends of it and tie it together? Does that not create that difference?
I have no idea, and I'm grossed out.
Yeah. I mean, that's a very serious injury. And Kyrie also has proven to be injury prone way back in the one and done bus factory days. He only played 11 games at Duke. And he's only played, I believe, 2 of the last 4 playoff runs. I really like his vibe. I really like both their vibes. I think to say that they're like of moody character or even of poor character is hilarious, right? Because like the people who frame that are the people who have lost them in free agency.
Boomers,
yeah. So it's like boomers in Boston are just like, we're better off without him. Trust me, he's a quitter. It's like, oh, Kemba Walker quit on your team and come here. Like, it's the same difference, except Kemba's not as good.
They're definitely two of the more publicly emotive superstars we've had in a specifically millennial way. I think we've talked about that ad nauseum on this show. Regardless of whether these two guys are going to be healthy, whether Kevin Durant's going to come back and be a segment of what he was before, 30, 40%, 80%, 100, whatever that is, it is a remarkable turnaround for the Nets franchise. Like, that is validation of Sean Marks and Atkinson and Billy King and
Joseph Tsai.
But incredible to go from 2 years ago or so, the worst team in the NBA, to a couple years later having Spencer Dinwiddie, Karis LeVert,
Jared Allen. Even Rondé Hollis-Jefferson's going to be a player.
Kurucs. And then Joe Harris, having a collection of solid players in the mix, and then signing the two biggest stars on the market. Regardless of what happens to them, they were the two prize free agents, and they both went to Brooklyn. And they've got a good surrounding cast around them. I don't know if they're a championship team, depending on what happens. One could certainly argue, though, that Kyrie, Durant, LeVert, Jared Allen, Dinwiddie, Kurucs, Harris, there is the makings of a potential championship-winning team right now on the Brooklyn Nets.
Yeah, and I don't think. Well, Levert, I think, is their third best player at this point. I think he's really good.
Same.
But he might not last for Durant to get healthy because he's restricted. So they're going to have to pay him. So they're going to have to do something.
They have a lot of money. They're in New York City.
They have one max, right? Left.
But he's their guy. They can spend whatever they want.
Yeah. He gets grandfathered in.
I would guess that their plan is to package together a bunch of those guys for the next superstar that's on the market and try to add
For
a third
sure.
guy.
Oh my God. Yeah, you can get, especially Jared Allen, who has seen his role probably diminish with DeAndre Jordan. Both guys, amazing players, but like would survive better 10 years ago. Like they're not really playable at their max potential or value anymore. But back to your point about ownership, absolutely. Like, shout out to the Russian oligarch who signed Sean Marks. He hired Sean Marks to run the team and gave him confidence. And a year later, Joseph Tsai bought 49% and will get the other 2% to be majority owner in 2 years. And he comes with a corporate kind of attitude where it's just like he's the founder of Alibaba, which is like the Asian Amazon, huge company. A big reason why that country's doing a threat to America economically. But he runs it like a corporation, a good corporation, in that he's just like, oh, I just want the smartest people in charge and to do smart things. And if they're not doing smart things, we'll replace them with smart people who will. And the same thing kind of happened at the Clippers. Like Donald Sterling, for decades, they were the laughingstock. The minute he sold, they've been kind of relevant throughout, and they've kind of reshaped their point of view in good ways because Ballmer's also a corporate guy. These are all tech guys.
And that, without getting into a whole conversation, is what's a bummer about being a Sixers fan, because they had Hinkie. He got 2.5 years.
Oh, we're
he
getting
clearly
there.
did it right. The Nets are duplicating that plan with like minor tweaks.
Yeah.
Minor tweaks, because they didn't have high draft picks. They weren't incentivized to lose in the way that Philadelphia was. But that's the bittersweet thing. As a Sixers fan who's also really appreciated the Nets, and we've been advocating for the Brooklyn rebuild for ages.
They're doing it right.
I have a story 2.5 years ago, whatever, for The Ringer, talking about how the Nets are smart now.
The minute they got Sean Marks, it was the beginning.
Totally changed. But they've got their guys who designed this in place, and the Nets are going to be a fucking problem. They have
Moving forward forever.
Superstars.
Yeah.
They have a big market. They have a smart front office. They are an issue.
Yeah, they're going to be like the Spurs because Sean Marks is from that family tree. But even when the Spurs lose all their stars like Kawhi Leonard, it's just like, oh, what are they up to now? Are they going to be like a 6 seed that's going to be annoying to play?
Yeah,
always.
They're just there calmly chipping away at the margins.
Yes.
And that's all you want from a front office. Just keep getting little wins, and eventually they add up.
Absolutely, assets. And is it time to talk about the Sixers now?
Well, let's talk about a team that did not win, because we're talking about the Nets, who are now the kings of New York City.
Oh no,
New management.
the Hudson Yards Knicks.
Well, this was not the worst day in Knicks history, as some people said.
No, people tried to do that. You tried to do that to me over and over.
Let's see where you go with it.
The worst day would be immediately I would think of Patrick Ewing. Watching Patrick Ewing rupture a tendon in his hand was kind of awful to see. That was vibes though. Like he had a Hall of Fame career by that point. Them turning down Jeremy Lin in free agency was an awful day. And there was another one, but I don't know. This doesn't rank up there. Oh, Antonio McDyess. That was a truly awful day when he went down in a preseason game and basically shattered his knee. That was the beginning of kind of understanding, or trying to figure out if the Knicks were a bad luck team or not. Were we cursed or not?
I'm not a Knicks fan, and I never
Nor should you be.
have been.
They're not even in the NBA.
Except for outside of the D'Antoni rebuild era, because it coincided with the Sixers trading with Iverson and becoming the most dismal collection of scrubs. Yeah. It wasn't that they were bad. They were just this loser team with Andre Miller, utterly repugnant squad that they would run out there. And that was why I started following the Knicks, because the Knicks put D'Antoni in charge and started being really fun.
Donnie Walsh.
So I didn't care enough about the Knicks to have a bad day as a Knicks fan. But growing up, I felt like it was the Ewing missed, like Tippmann. Or
the
Ewing
the-
missed
the back
runner,
rim?
or
The
whatever.
finger roll.
The finger roll. That to me was sort of
That was heartbreaking.
that was kind of worse than John Starks having like an awful night.
Yeah, that doesn't qualify to me as the worst moment.
Or is it the Charles Smith moment?
That was funny, where he missed all those layups.
Maybe that would be it. Actually, I guess I feel like it's one of the punctuating moments of defeat versus.
Yeah.
I don't know. Again, not a Knicks fan.
Yeah, the optics of that McDyess injury haunt me. It's hard to pick out like a memory of Starks missing all those shots. When you think of Starks, you think of the championship he won with that dunk against the Bulls. But it wasn't the worst day in Knicks history, only because we knew for weeks that Durant and Kyrie were thinking about Brooklyn. And also, the worst day was probably when Durant snapped his Achilles. When we watched that happen, I'm like, it's over. This whole thing, this whole plan has to change.
It is kind of remarkable, though, looking back to the deadline when they traded Porzingis and the party line, one that was regurgitated by company man Andrew Kuo on this very program, was that this was smart.
It was smart, and it was still smart.
They got rid of their star player. They added scrubby Dennis Smith Jr. to open up max spaces because they had commitments from Durant and maybe Kyrie.
No, because they had an opportunity to. So you're just looking at results now. They didn't get them.
No.
They didn't get them.
I'm saying
The process was good.
no, it wasn't, because
You didn't get the guys in the end.
no. When people said this is going to work because we could get these free agents, I've maintained always, my stance has always been,
You coming for your own receipts?
I'm coming for my receipts. Cap space is not a plan.
Oh, okay, that's fair. That's an interesting debate. But like in that situation, they were looking at 4 players, maybe 5 players. Klay Thompson, Kawhi Leonard, which is a long shot. We didn't know he was going to win a championship. We thought he would be ushered out, as the Toronto Raptors had been before. And Kemba Walker. You know, like these were players that the Knicks want. It's like, okay, if we don't get the top 2, we're in play for these other guys. And it didn't work out because of a lot of reasons. People say like Oakley got into these players' heads. He's been like campaigning against them, which is ridiculous and the most boomer thing ever, right? These players did what they wanted, and I think a lot of them thought about coming to the Knicks and decided not to. You know, like it's hard to lump all these isms onto why this didn't happen, but maybe Kemba was just like, you know, I really like Danny Ainge, you know, and like that's just it.
Okay, I've collected my receipts, and where do we go now? The Knicks had to take a different route. They were summarily rejected by the cream of the crop from the free agent class.
Rich Paul was like, you guys are in relegation.
You're in relegation. You're not in the NBA. My guys want to play in the league.
Yeah.
You're not in the league.
Yeah.
And the Knicks aren't,
No,
as reported by the New York Times.
you heard it there first.
The Knicks are not in the NBA.
Yeah.
People think we're joking. They are literally not in the NBA.
They're not participating or behaving. Like, I just watched The Sixth Sense. No spoilers. The main, the main character thinks her house is haunted, but in the end, she's the one haunting the house, and people can't see her. They could just see her like rustling up papers and like breaking glasses. And that's the Knicks, right? The Knicks are like, oh, we missed out on all these free agents, and everyone's just like, is there like a wind passing through this room?
No, it really is that.
It's just like, we had a good meeting. It's just like, oh, I was eating cereal and I swore I heard a voice. You know, like the Knicks aren't there philosophically and physically, you know?
Because it goes through cycles. The Sixers were in relegation for a while. The Nets were in relegation. And it depends on how you use that time off. Mm-hmm. If you can stomach it and be like, look, we're in relegation, it's disappointing, but we can acknowledge it and figure out how we're going to get back in the league and be at a place where we want. Versus, we got to get back in the league. We're not in relegation. No, what are you talking about? We're in the NBA.
Yeah.
Because there are a handful of teams that currently are not in the NBA. Cavs are not in the NBA.
Charlotte Hornets.
Hornets, not in the NBA.
Perhaps the Kings, maybe the Suns.
Kings are in the NBA now.
Oh,
For sure.
the Harrison Barnes stand has logged in.
I'm not saying I love all their decisions, but they're in the NBA.
I like Bogdan quite a bit.
I,
He's a good player, man.
they're fine. They're
Yeah.
in the NBA. But there are teams, Phoenix, borderline, maybe.
Only because lottery balls went their way.
But it's really that I would say Cavs, Hornets, Wizards are not in the NBA.
Currently not in the NBA.
Right. No, it's cyclical. There's a couple teams every year who are just not in the contention.
Or it's linear. These teams kind of always blow it. The only reason the Cavs were relevant is because one guy decided it's my hometown.
Totally. But the Knicks went with a different kind of plan. After striking out with the big dogs, they got some little dogs.
We sure did, man.
So you've got, I'll list them off, and then I don't need a one by one, but just give me a.
Oh, it's a murderer's row of relegated all-stars.
Introducing the New York Knicks, Elfrid Payton,
Shout out to
Bobby Portis,
Portis.
Reggie Bullock,
Boop.
Taj Gibson, and the man at the power forward, Julius Randle.
Wish there was a good Caesar pun. Can't do it. But yeah, that's a lame. Eat too. That's not an impressive haul on paper at
If
all.
you see them lined up in a trench coat, they're incredibly tall.
I think 538 put out their Carmelo ratings like yesterday, and all these guys are just like league average, project, league average, project.
Certainly seem to like power forwards. No shaming.
No shaming ever.
Didn't know the Knicks. I don't know. We're into that.
So obviously, the smartest thing to do if you miss out on these top five big fish, because like Chris Middleton doesn't help you. Bradley Beal, trading for Bradley Beal doesn't help you. Getting like a second or third tier player who are great, who win you championships, don't help the Knicks. So if you miss out on these big fish, then what I wanted them to do and what everyone's been talking about is like take on bad contracts attached to picks and then have those contracts expire in 1, maybe 2 years, depending on what comes with it. Like the Chandler Parsons of the world, Millsap, who might be a little too good. Iggy, what happened there? I didn't know Iggy was available, but the Knicks, I wish as soon as they heard about it, should have been on that call. But that's what they should have done. What I was fearing the most was them kind of giving nice contracts to Ricky Rubio, like the $351 that Phoenix gave him, and pairing him with DeMarcus Cousins at the same price. That would have been the Knicksiest thing. Or signing Kevin Durant and Kyrie would have been the Knicksiest thing, which is ironic.
There's a bell curve of good moves, mediocre moves, and bad moves. I think on the good side, all the way outlier would be like signing NBA All-Stars.
Always do it.
Signing superstars. You sign them no matter what.
Yeah.
There's no timeline. There's nothing. It's like
He's a locker room weirdo. No, just sign him.
you just pick them up.
Yeah.
On the far side is committing lots of money and lots of years to players who aren't very good. Like those would be the worst. That'd be the worst possible thing.
Clarence Weatherspoon,
the
Charles
Knicks to
Smith,
do.
Tim Thomas. We do this. It's historical.
Joakim Noah would be a recent example of the worst case scenario of giving a ton of money to someone
Carmelo,
who's
the second
old,
time.
who doesn't, whatever. Like so, we know these parameters. There are other good ones in there, like sign a fairly good player to a cheap deal for a lot of years with a team option. Like you can be kind of good. The Knicks more or less were kind of pedestrian and in my mind to slightly bad. I like Randall. I think he's a fun player to watch. He had a really good season on a shit team. But like, hey, the guy's averaged basically 20 and 10 in an NBA season with good scoring efficiency. He can play ball. But
yeah.
the other guys, I don't like Portis. Taj does not make sense because
That's a boomer move. That's just for like leadership.
that's why you do the Iguodala thing. That's what the Nets and Sixers did. You find a cool veteran who you're comfortable taking off someone's hands but leaving on the roster.
The problem is you're comparing the Knicks to smart teams. You're comparing them to Hinkie, to now the Memphis Grizzlies who are doing smart things. You're comparing them to something you want to see happen. We should be comparing the Knicks to themselves. And their history leads us to believe that this isn't nearly the worst case scenario. These guys are on 1-year contracts with options for another year, so they can just get out of this. And some of these guys might be tradable. I think Bobby Portis, probably not. He makes too much money. Someone will take Taj Gibson.
No, they won't.
Maybe not. Maybe not. $10 million is too much. Taj is $10 million a year. Portis is $15 million a year. Someone might take Elfrid for $8 million. Probably not. Right.
So there was an article that discusses this exact dilemma, and it was on Deadspin. Forget the exact title. It was by Chris Thompson, but the conceit of the article was that bad teams overpay for bad players who are on other bad teams.
Yeah.
There's mostly like an underground economy for shitty players and shitty teams.
Yeah, he's basically talking about relegation. And I don't agree with everything in the article, but he poses some really fun points, which is Bobby Portis kind of barters his value among teams like the Chicago Bulls, the Wizards, and the Knicks. And he kind of elevates his stock by doing certain things in poor situations. And by creating that value, he negates himself from ever joining a good team, like Kevon Looney, who signed for 3 years for $15 million, as opposed to Bobby Portis 2 years for $15 million. So he'll never be on a good team. So we'll never know what his true statistics kind of look like because they have to balance out eventually. He's always playing on a relegated team, and it's interesting when you compare him to future Knicks legend Jordan Bell, who.
Portis gets $15 million next year. It's not 15 over 2.
Oh, it's 30. It's 31. It's 31 million. Right. So yeah, I've just been saying for 1 year. So Taj is 20 years.
Just to clarify, they're paying him a lot of money.
Well, it's a team option for the second year. Right?
I get that part.
Yeah.
But I'm saying next year, the Knicks will be paying Bobby Portis and Taj Gibson the same thing that say Al Horford is going to be paid. That's
right. So Looney was like
this.
330. Right. My bad.
Is that bad players and bad teams actually make more money in a way that accentuates the difference between these franchises from an econometric standpoint.
Yeah, and what he's saying, that's the right.
Does that make any sense?
Yeah, that's the right word because they survive in a different economy, in a different ecosystem. They are, this is a terrible analogy, but they're like the creatures on the bottom of the ocean. You know, like there's a whole ecosystem down there, and there's alphas and there's people who dominate and like who survive and have sustainability down there, and we boil them up and put butter on them, and they're delicious. But they're not like the beautiful dolphins or like the cool fish that float to the surface and say hi to tourist boats. But like
those are mermaids.
yeah, they're certainly not mermaids. But I think the article has a point, and you see all these players kind of shift from team to team that are like on the verge of relegation.
The irony is that for all the perception that's the public has expressed about how players just want to get paid, what this article doesn't say is that these boomer-ass players are going to win. They're going to experience the joy of success on the hardwood. Because a good example of this would be...
You mean in a vacuum, like a few nights?
Well, I'm saying in this way, of Bobby Portis could probably have gotten $3 million a year and gone to a contender to flesh out the bench.
That's a boomer move.
But that's what I'm saying. That's a boomer move. On the other hand, Enes Kanter's taking $5 million a year to go play in Boston.
Also a boomer move.
But I'm saying... a shit team might have been like, Kanter will give you 12 a year if you come in playing for the Wizards. And he's like, no. Yeah.
But
all right, we'll give you 20. Okay, fine.
But this is where the details get hazy, right? Because Sam Presti's smart, and he's the one who gave Kanter that money. So he's the one who tried to push him into a different ecosystem, but Kanter made that money, so he's not as worried about it, so he goes to Boston.
Totally fair point. I just mean... there is an odd relationship, as this article digs into, between. Well, I guess let me rephrase this. It really indicates that if you were a bad team, signing mediocre veterans, as the Knicks did, doesn't really work, because you're going to get Jared Bayless at $8 million a year for 3 years because he's the only guy that will take your money. And you have to overpay a bummy dude to come be on your terrible team. And
This doesn't quite work for the Knicks here. I mean, I'm going to defend them here because Randall's really young. These are not the
but
traditional.
they're paying Randall a lot of money. Randall doesn't count. He's being paid.
I think that's
lot.
that's a good deal.
It's fine.
Yeah, it's a good deal. There's a team option for year 3, so they're out from under that in 2 years, and he's not making close to like heavy max. He's not even close to that. But this is not typical Knicks behavior. This is not Jared Jack stuff. I mean, I was worried they were going to give Randall the max. So if they're not with a 2-year with 1-year team option, that's fine. Do it.
The Randall deal is the one that I like.
It's fine. I don't like him as much as you do, but
I don't even love Randall. This is hypothetically. He's a good player, proven that he can ball.
Knicks fans are gonna love him.
No, but he's young. Knicks fans are gonna like him.
He gets buckets and he rebounds.
Cool.
Yeah,
like rock out.
yeah. He's not my favorite guy, and like
The Portis and Taj ones to me are just such trash.
yeah, but
Just trash. Just disgraceful.
yeah,
Garbage.
it was weird because I was it was like
Dumbass moves.
I was like Millhouse's dad. I was just like trying to find a feeling. I was like, oh, we got Taj Gibson. That sounds about
Let me
right.
help you. Trash. Just utterly repellent. Sanitation.
One thing I did think about this as this was all going on.
Josh Gibson, get the fuck out of here! What? Like that makes no sense. You have all these dudes. Like, let's bring another older guy because the
What do you
problem
mean?
here, before I lose
Jesus.
it, I fully lose it.
This isn't even your Sixers rant. You're ranting on my team.
I don't even know if I have a Sixers fan. I'm really ambivalent about that whole fiasco. My thing is that you've got young guys. You want to play Randall. Okay, Portis is young enough. We'll play him. You've got Knox. You've got Vonleh. You've got young dudes. You've
They don't
got
have
Mitchell.
Vonleh
And you're like, no, we'll bring in Taj. But we'll pay him enough money that the coach will be tempted to play him and give him minutes over other guys. It just doesn't make sense.
I mean, this is where flatten odds helps because I think by accident Taj Gibson wins a couple games. I think Portis is bound to go off for one of his classic like 24 and 15 games, and people are like, "Ooh, he might be a baller." Extend him. Like he's not good at a lot of things. Didn't he sucker punch Mirotic?
Yeah, he broke his face.
And
then they had to trade Mirotic.
But the team took Portis' side. Portis was like, they were like Mirotic had it coming.
Mirotic punched him back to Europe. Or, I'm sorry.
Punched his ticket back to Europe.
Blew that line. Portis punched his ticket back. Yeah, there we go.
But I think I just don't care what the Knicks did because I was bummed when it was clear that they weren't going to go for bad contracts. So whatever. And I was really pleased to hear that it was just 1-year deals. These are not helpful players. These are not even desirable trade chips. Like, why don't you get an interesting player instead? I mean, we joke about Jordan Bell. He costs like $2 million. Get him.
But obviously, right?
Yeah.
It's like, go get Jordan Bell. Go get Shabazz Napier. Go get David Nwaba.
Which
go
is
get
what
a bunch of young dudes who might be okay if you decided to give them 25 minutes a game. Go find a Spencer Dinwiddie.
And this is
find a Robert Covington.
This is where I get confused, where I confuse myself, and these are brain revelations. But like
Brain renovations.
I'm renovating it up. But I think you can't really go by memory or history. So I think what you're asking them to do, they did last year. They got Moody-Eye, Vonleh, Hazonia. They did exactly what you're saying they should do now. And it didn't work out. None of those guys are keepers. So they might be like, that didn't work. I'm like, no, you stick to that. You do that over and over and over endlessly. But they might be like, we tried that thing. It didn't quite work out.
I was in a mini little Twitter debate with some Knicks guys. And the predominant sentiment from a lot of them, sediment,
Crabs.
dirt, was that you can't just keep being this bad.
Yeah, you can.
But no, but this is what they thought.
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
like, well, at some point you got to start adding these guys and becoming respectable.
No.
Because how are the players going to develop otherwise? And to me, that's a completely nonsensical approach because you're
You
like,
just have to ignore that
hey,
shit.
we got R.J. Barrett, this boomer who's never played a single NBA game. Okay, so we're good. Now we can go back to trying to win games again. It's like, no, you have to stick around and get draft picks until
You
they
get
make
Zion
you good.
Williamson. Yeah, you have to increase your percentage for success continuously.
And that's the thing about the process when people are like, well, would the process work? Well, the process always works. It works every single time. Only because as long as you're only going to get good off of the guys that you have and you never artificially add wins because you're under pressure to do so, then you just will stay bad until you're good.
Yeah. And people misconstrue the process as like they're doing the process over there. I'm like, no, they're just keeping their picks. That's not the process. The process is like taking on bad contracts, looking for value elsewhere, using the G League to your advantage, not prioritizing what you may think the fans want or winning, just playing value over and over. And the NBA has adjusted post-process and flattened odds to kind of salt that. But there's lanes where this can go on. And like, I'm obsessed with this. And I mentioned this last time. The Pelicans did everything wrong. They got AD. Then they
This is a. Oh, I thought you were talking about the Pelicans right now. I was ready for a David Griffin takedown by Kuo.
No. The Pelicans did everything wrong and got AD. And then they did everything wrong again and flipped AD for value and got Zion on top of that because they did everything wrong. Cleveland did everything wrong. They got LeBron James, and he came back. They got him twice. Like, the Knicks don't have to necessarily be smart. They have to be lucky, but they have to put themselves in the position to be lucky.
I would say the biggest upside, or in terms of what we've learned about the Knicks front office, is that they're not progressive. We know this. We know that. But they're also comfortable being shitty next year.
Which is
what
fine.
You want.
Yeah, I want
They
that.
didn't sign Portis and Bullock and Taj and Peyton to be good.
This is a bottom three team, and well, to your first point, it's so funny because they're the flagship boomer team in the NBA, right? Like they're just booming through that canal.
The Jolly Roger flapping in the breeze for the boomer flagship.
Yeah. My complaint is like, fine, they're not progressive. There can only be a handful of progressive teams in the league because, like in baseball, everyone's progressive now, so everyone has the same information, and it's kind of hard to differentiate off-white from white. But they're not. The Knicks are not good at even being boomers because my boomer mentality would be like, oh, you're a shark of a stock trader. Like you're just looking at. You don't even care about like Amazon, but you just see it from a mile away being like, why is everyone talking about this Amazon thing? Should I get in on this? And it's like, ugh, this boomer just bought like 1 million shares. Like we've been doing all the work and he just swooped in and bought it. The Knicks should just have Google open, a website that the dark web uses to like own boomers, you know? That's where they get all their calculators. They Google them.
That's what the interns are always using, right?
Yeah, it's a website where it's just like it tells you what's happening.
I feel like it's a bunch of basketball memes mostly. Yeah. Pictures of Hal Ortford.
But the Knicks should just hire some paid intern, to just search Google and find out what Daryl Morey's talking about and just do what he does. Or Sam Presti. Or
Well, that goes back to Yang's thing.
yeah.
Was that you just saw the Nets do this like literally 2.5 miles away and saw them surge to success ahead of you, and you're there like, actually, let's not sell our draft. Let's not sell our cap space for assets when the Nets just did it.
Do I need to give them backstage passes for the JD and the Straight Shot show? Do they need to know that I'm one of them? I'm a performer at the highest level. Yeah, they think it's because like they don't want it enough, but actually it's KD and Kyrie looking at the Knicks and being like, you guys don't have a plan. And Brooklyn does, so we're just going to go there. That sounds kind of fun. And it's not even that heavy. It's just like, let's do that. That Coogee jersey's awesome.
That is awesome, though. But let's shift away from this
No,
cosmopolitan
no.
East Coast liberal bias.
You're not hard enough for these streets, man. Maybe Durant and Kyrie can show you around.
And let's move all the way to Philadelphia.
Whoa, even harder.
Full hour and change away down the eastern seaboard.
Yo, you can get lost real easy driving down to Philly from New York. It's complicated.
That drive down the eastern seaboard, whatever that highway is, that is like the worst. When
It's
you go
tricky.
from New York to Jersey, Philadelphia, Delaware, D.C., it sucks.
And if you miss one turn, like you've lost 45 minutes. It's every time we get there to see a Sixers game on time, I'm like, we did it. Getting back is fine.
Chinatown buses, man.
Is that what you do?
I mean, conceivably.
Don't they? What do they smuggle? They got busted for smuggling like maybe low grade drugs,
I forget.
pharmaceuticals.
I felt like they were just unlicensed and there was a chance that they would topple over. I rode one from upstate at 5 a.m. one time, and they were whipping it in a way that I was a bit uncomfortable.
Yeah, the vibe, the reputation they have is they're like death traps, but I want to see the numbers, man, because
I think there's also some stereotypical thing about Asian drivers playing into this.
there
I
are
have
chicken
no
bones on the
doubt.
floor for sure by people.
Yeah, I remember there were a couple well-publicized crashes, though, and that actually is why.
And a horrifying murder of a rival bus owner smushed between two of his own buses.
He died doing what he loved.
At least I died doing what I love. Love these damn buses. Ugh. Hate to see it.
Oh, it's difficult to observe. But the Sixers, they
Big moves,
were
man.
they were a couple bounces away from potentially winning a title this year against the Durant.
No, they have a title. Kevin Durant has 0. Ben Simmons has 1. Get your facts straight.
I mean, the Sixers won a chip. They won it. They took
According
home
to Google, man.
crown. We know this. They were the best team. They're number 1 in the power rankings, provided they ran it back. The Sixers did not run it back. And they made a few moves that are, well, all right. First of all, Jimmy Butler, who was their best player during the playoffs, a marquee acquisition, arguably a top 15 to 20 player in the NBA.
Love Jimmy
He's
Butler.
a stud. Jimmy Buckets. I don't know what happened here. And there are conflicting details, so I'm just going to say I don't know.
We don't know, right?
Whether the Sixers offered him 4 or 5
Or nothing.
he turned down 4 or 5, I don't know. But he ultimately decided that he would be in Miami. And then they worked on a sign and trade that brought back Josh Richardson, and they used some of that money to bring in Hal Ortford, the Celtics and Atlanta Hawks legend, who is 47 years old. And then they brought back Tobias Harris
At max.
at 5-year max. That's a weird team.
I like it. There's a lot of big boys on that team. I mean, I'm a Josh Richardson fan, and he only makes $10 million. He's a good defender. He can play the point. He can play any like guard position.
Are you shaming?
No, you're shaming. You're j'accuse. But no. But they're big, and they're just getting bigger. They signed Kyle Quinn as well.
Love it.
Love it.
They also just signed Norvel Pell, a center from the D-League. Then they brought back to a 2-way contract. Then they brought back Mike Scott, who is a forward. And under contract, you have Jonah Bolden, who is a forward center. And they have a bunch of young guys who are athletic but can't shoot or dribble or pass.
Zaire Smith and Thibault.
I think it's
Thibault.
Thibault.
Thibault? Are they? Is
I
he?
could be wrong.
All right.
But whatever. It is a team that is long on size and some wing athleticism and very short on basketball skills.
It's true. Yeah, they're plotters, they're ball stoppers, and a lot of them are possession guys that need 5 to 10 seconds to get their own shots. They're very good at it. Like we were talking yesterday, it's like we were joking about the size thing, and then it's coming to a place where we're just like, this is amazing. I just want to see this happen. Don't sign a guard. Like, can you do this?
We've relentlessly made fun of
The interns. Oh, I guess here too.
we have on the show, the interns have online,
Right.
have made fun of the Sixers' inappropriate predilection for
Thickness.
thickness.
Amir Johnson, your favorite, the Sixers legend.
They went into the playoffs with 5 centers last year, and only one of them was playable in the postseason. But here's my thing. I'm into it now. I've accepted the kink.
You're now not shaming? It took you this long to stop shaming?
Like, it's so weird. Fuck it.
It's awesome. It's awesome.
I can't tell if it's an actual big ball theory or they just don't know what Ben Simmons is and refuse to accept that he's
a power
not
forward.
quote, guard.
Yeah.
And that's informing this ludicrous chain of events in which they just will not sign guys who can dribble. It's remarkable.
Did Popovich create a team of mid-range, and R.C. Buford create a team of mid-range jump shooting players because of necessity or because of philosophy? Were they just good values at that point? Or were they just like, the two-point shot's underrated?
I'm 100% sure in that situation it was math.
I mean, they're very smart.
What does the market overlook right now? And like, it's mid-range jump shooters. People don't want them. People don't like them. Let's figure out a way to...
And San Antonio's not a destination that people want. So signing LaMarcus to all that money, just getting LaMarcus in the door was huge.
Yeah, I mean, we can talk about the wisdom of that Kawhi Leonard trade and what they got in return for the dude who just won Toronto a chip, and that's a different discussion. But I do not know if Philly's like, we see something.
Yeah,
If
what
you
does Brand
just
see?
put lard asses on the court at every position.
Nah, he's not big enough.
It's really, really strange to imagine in 2019-20 when we see teams like the Rockets go with P.J. Tucker at center and literally 4 ball handlers at every other position.
After paying Capella all that money, he's unplayable in the playoffs.
And to say, okay, we're going to go with a lineup that includes 2 centers, 2 power forwards, and a swingman. And that's what we're going to do. I also think the Sixers are going to be pretty good.
This is weird. I love Jimmy Butler. He's a top 15 player, like you said. I think they got better. They got slightly deeper. Horford's age kind of worries me. I love Josh Richardson, man. He's one of my guys.
Obviously, Butler is better than anyone they brought back.
Butler's the best player in that whole transaction.
For sure. He's a stud. I like Richardson.
He's usable. You're going to like him.
He's a good perimeter defender, lanky, disruptive.
Not a liability on offense. Can score a little bit.
But he's an off-the-ball guy.
Yes, he's not a primary player.
I think the Sixers will be forced into using him as a ball handler a bit, and he can kind of run. And he's pretty bad.
It's
at pick and
bad.
rolls.
He
He's
just
pretty
has the
bad in
ball in your
isolation.
hands.
Yeah, that's not his deal.
No.
But it is interesting that the Sixers, to what we were saying before, is you got Ben Simmons, who is a super talented player. They're giving the max. He's going to be there long term. It's well documented, our views on Ben Simmons. To say we're going to just surround you with guys who can shoot and let you just create everything might not be the wisest way to build an offense right now.
I
And
agree.
it's not because I don't think he's great, but like, why would you paint yourself into that box?
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't a perfect weekend for Elton Brand, but by any means. But I think a legitimate thing to think about is how Tobias Harris might change a little bit in the way we see him, because I think the opportunities he sees and the possessions he gets and the plays they run for him will kind of change. Not in a wholesale way, but he might get like 3 or 4 more looks and a couple more shots, and that might be the difference of Josh Richardson and losing Jimmy Butler. Like, who knows, in a vacuum.
My theory is that the departure of J.J. Redick is probably a very,
that's great.
very, very good thing.
That's great.
I'm excited to watch this team without Redick. And I don't mean that to sound like a nasty slight at him. He is what he is. He
No,
is a
very
shooting
likable guy.
specialist.
Yeah, whatever.
He's one of the best 3-point shooters in NBA history.
Now, is that true?
Yeah, he's great. It's great.
Shout out for just extending his career by trying to get better constantly. Like, he, at least for a second, made us think that he could defend. Quick aside, my hottest take this season, everyone's hottest take, was that the Pelicans were going to be better than Kawhi, LBJ, and AD. But as soon as you add your boy JJ in there, it throws it all away. I think he's going to make them worse.
Yeah, he's one of the best 3-point shooters ever. He's 21st overall. He'll end up somewhere in like the top 15. I mean, he'll get passed because it's a different era, but
This is an overarching question for you. What do you think like all-time best is? 15, 25? Does it stop at like 10?
No,
Because
wait,
who's right before him?
like Chauncey Billups or someone.
Like Michael Redd? I mean,
Probably.
Code Red was
I
great.
think if you're top 20 ever in anything,
That's fair.
you
I just
can
wanted to know.
Yeah, I feel
Okay.
like fair.
Okay.
25, I'll let you have it. 30, maybe. Maybe 30.
Oh, man. But Kobe is on this cusp all the time, right?
Look, my biggest concern right now, I'll be honest, is that Kobe Bryant stands on the verge of being bumped from the top 10 Lakers of all time. Now that we have LeBron, Anthony Davis, and potentially Kawhi, poor Kobe went from top 5 to not mentioned at all.
Brooklyn. Do you think that Jerry West is top 10? He lost a lot of championships, which boomers care about. He's the logo, baby. I said baby twice. I'm sorry.
Play in the NBA? The NBA started in 1996, so I don't even know who this guy is.
That was a test, and you passed.
Okay, because I was confused. It's like, what are you talking about? Like pickup ball?
That jazz with that round.
The heroes of the Park Slope YMCA?
So, as a Sixers fan, I want to ask you questions because you can go on and on about this, and I know you can, but I want to focus you.
Okay,
in on
please,
this.
thank you. I need that right now. Go on.
You mentioned that the chances, you like their chances still. They've preserved their opportunity to win a chip. What do you want them to do moving forward? Are you serious about not wanting them to sign like a Shabazz Napier who might become available?
Real life, obviously they should sign Raul
Kink life,
Neto,
though. Yeah.
Shabazz Napier,
You've been caping for Neto.
Nwaba. I mean, now that it appears they don't have the money to go after.
They have 2.2 now, right?
Yeah, they don't have the money to go after anyone legitimate, which makes me also
Can
question.
you not get Napier for 2?
You probably could, but then why did they just spend money on Kyle O'Quinn, who is a god and a bearded delight?
Because he's a bar mitzvah hero in New York City.
I mean, he's sick. We're KOQ cravers on this side. But if you've got Embiid, Horford, Ben Simmons, and like 3 other bigs, maybe you don't need another center. Maybe you address the, I don't know,
Shame, so much shame.
open wound at the over there at the guard position. Because like, as much of a liability as Redick was, and as petite his offensive toolbox, he did play guard. And if you look at this team right now, your guard depth chart is probably Josh Richardson, who's kind of a small forward.
He's a small forward. Zaire Smith, who can't handle.
Can't dribble, maybe can't shoot.
Ty Boulay, what'd you call him? Tabule? Tabule?
Thigh bully.
Ty Bully.
But
He's not known as a handler either.
it's also kind of a wing.
Yeah, they're most valuable at the wing. They shouldn't be at point.
And Shake Milton, who was their second round pick last year, who was mostly in the D League on a 2-way contract, who they will presumably sign.
If he was good, they could call him Shake Shack. That would be great.
He might be good. I don't know. Like I think they should give him a shot for sure.
Well, they have no choice.
But that's what I mean. That's their depth chart of actual ball handlers. And maybe they'll bring back TJ McConnell. That's the depth chart of a team that has designs on winning an NBA championship at guard is Shake Milton
It's interesting because they
and Zaire Smith.
as an organization, they're almost adopting the same philosophy as Ben Simmons as a player, being like, I'm a power forward. Stop asking me to do not power forward things. And as an organization, they're like, oh, we like big guys. Stop asking us to add small guys. This is what we do. It's our strength.
No, we're bigs.
Yeah.
We're the bullies.
Yeah. Being good at one thing is better than being okay at everything.
Are they just trying to get everybody on a bullies T-shirt?
I started working on the new the intern started working.
Interns?
There's a lot of bullies, man.
Yeah, I mean, how many bullies is this? More bullies? Bullies 7?
It's like bully 7 more bullies, man.
But I am very, very interested to see
Super fun.
How this works. But I'm very psyched to see this team without needing to put Redick on the court. That really bugged me about last season, was because they didn't have depth, they needed to play him. And there were times when you realized that they were compromising their entire defense for their fourth option, maybe their fifth option on offense. That's crazy. It's like...
And they would try desperately to manufacture him a shot, and a lot of times he couldn't really finish that play because he was falling out of bounds or he was overmatched. He was constantly falling
down. He fell down a lot.
He was always leaning into threes, and I was like, dude, we just ran 2 screens for you. Just like spot up, man. That's what you do, right?
It was strange, though, that the Sixers were so preoccupied with generating looks for him because he is a good shooter. When you have Embiid, Simmons, Jimmy Butler, Tobias Harris. So it was like basically saying, we're going to build this like whole apparatus so that we can be concerned with the potatoes.
Right. Yeah, which is weird.
In this entire meal with all these delightful things, let's focus mostly on the potato.
Well, this is the Yang Gang's whole thing. It's like in a corporation, don't adjust to your weakest link. Just ignore your weakest link. You don't have to fire them, but just like adjust to your strongest link.
So that's what I'm kind of into, is that, all right, they're not going to have that crutch of Redick who can just generate a 3 and give you a decent points per possession, and you put up with that defensively. I'm interested in being like, no, we don't have that, but we've got Zaire who's trying to rip your face off. Or we've got Matisse who's trying to
paint himself into the defensive player of the year.
He's trying to paint you into the corner. Oh, man, that's got to have been used. Like when he closes out on someone and they're like trapped by the sideline. Matisse has him painted into the corner. I'm definitely using that.
And as being Sixers agnostic, I'm just really happy that they maintained their level of fun, right? They maintained their excitement, and they're a league pass team. I think everyone in the league is going to be looking at them. And unfortunately, Jimmy Butler left that situation into Miami, and no one gives a fuck about what happens in Miami. They're just like one of those middle teams again. This is a Knicks team.
The one other thing, the last point about the
Knicks team.
Sixers, though, is that their lack of a backup center cost them a trip to at least the Eastern Conference Finals, maybe beyond.
Also a playmaker.
But having Horford, who can shoot from the perimeter, who is a great defender, who's a great passer, he's probably a better fit with Ben Simmons than Embiid.
He's on the cusp of basketball genius. He's one of those players who's just like, oh, you can have him on the court, and he's kind of like a mini coach. He's good.
Like, it doesn't mean that it doesn't mean that Simmons and Horford are better than Simmons and Embiid, but in terms of fitting together on the floor, it probably makes more sense. And I think when you have these monstrous Embiid plus-minus numbers that would always convince people that the other dudes weren't good, but Embiid was just this incredible guy and everyone else kind of was meaningless, that was bullshit. Because Embiid never had to play with his replacements.
Right.
And now I suspect that incredible difference between Embiid being on and off court will not vanish, but be a lot less with Horford chewing up backup center minutes.
And let's not forget, no Simbin, they did the Yankees-Red Sox thing. They not only added Horford that could help him, they took Horford away from one of their competitors, even though Boston is in a procedural rebuild. They don't have
I
to
like
play
what
Horford.
Boston's doing, though. You know, taking flyers on young, up-and-coming talent like Inez Kantar.
But they adopted another quitter in Kemba Walker, who just looked at the entire city of Charlotte and be like, not on my watch. I'm going to Boston.
Incredible.
The Beantown.
He had MJ as a mentor.
He was the
One of the top 3 players in NBA history. There as a guiding light and a way to dictate the way that you behave. And like MJ, he quit.
he was a locker room cancer because on the court he was good enough. He was an all-star. They weren't even close to competing. Therefore, something's happening behind the scenes. Does he think the earth is flat?
Kemba doesn't want it.
Does not, clearly.
If he wanted it, he would have stayed in Charlotte and won a title.
Yep. Real players are loyal to their teams and win a chip by themselves.
Like MJ with the Wizards.
That's right. Pippen with the Rockets.
Barkley on the Phoenix Suns.
What else we got, man?
The Celtics are actually...
They got worse.
They got boring.
Yeah, they're... Okay, so this is what I love to talk about.
Kyrie made that team cooler than they were supposed to be.
Yep. There's certain... Like, the Knicks are the tip of the spear of boring franchises. They always put together players that you don't care about, like Taj Gibson and Bobby Portis. See, I can't even say their names. It's too boring, right?
Dude, it's trash.
It's
Bobby Portis and Taj Gibson. It's just trash.
But, like, the Celtics got boring. The Heat got boring. The Blazers, perpetually boring, right, after Rasheed Wallace's crew.
I think Jimmy Butler is a wonderful basketball player, an engaging personality, whether you like him or not. On the Heat, boring.
Super boring.
Feels like he just cashed in his chips. He's like, all right, I'll get a huge contract and
Respect.
I get to live in Miami. I get to be the man. That's
I'm into
sick.
it. I'm into it.
That's sick.
Do your thing,
Miami's
Jimmy.
fun. I'm an NBA superstar.
Yeah.
Can pal around with my buddy Dwayne Wade. Life is good.
Yeah.
Like, no problems. But he kind of gave up the ghost in terms of being part of that hierarchy in the NBA.
He retired from the NBA, basically. He was just like, I'm not part of this anymore. I'm going to go be awesome, hang out with the beach goers of Miami. Miami still fun? The last time I went was like 2 years ago. I really love that beach, man.
He's like the guy who was, trying to make partner in the law firm. He was right there, right about to make partner. Put in the work. Brought himself up by his bootstraps, and was like, you know what? I'm going to move up to Phoenicia and open a bed and breakfast and go tubing every day and have a little herb garden.
I'm with him.
And that's my new life. That's my new life.
That's better.
I don't want to be here trying to make partner and working 80-hour weeks. I want to be up in Woodstock. I want to make macrame owls.
I want to get into ceramics, man. I want to stain glass.
I have a kiln now. I couldn't have had that in the West Village.
Show me a kiln in Brooklyn.
Looks out the window.
Brooklyn.
That's 7. Kiln language. But yeah, Butler's relegated himself.
Yeah, which is great. I mean, it seems like this is what he wanted all along. He wanted the money, and he wanted just to, like, have fun. He's a funny dude.
He's got Rascast Miami Life going in the headphones. But we talk about this a lot. Winning is cool if it's on your own terms. Being coerced by public shame into joining a winning situation, like Kemba Walker, I don't know that that's great. Does he want to live in Boston? I don't know. Probably not. He's like, all right, well, if the money's the same, I might as well go to a team that's good. But Jimmy Butler choosing lifestyle, I'm not mad. That's okay. Go live somewhere cool that you want to be. The weather's warm. You can get a white Bugatti. Like, do it up. Choosing things for lifestyle, to me, is the ultimate liberation for the athlete.
Absolutely. One time I was sitting on the beach in Miami and I saw Jamal Tinsley trying to get back into the league. I forgot what his last team was, but it was one of those times where I realized what beasts these guys are. And like Jamal Tinsley is like an average height point guard who had a really long career, was an awesome player on the Pacers. When I saw him running on the beach, I was like, oh man, you look like a center to me. You look like a power forward. But on the court, on TV, you're just like, oh, he's just like an average guard. It's wild, man. And there's only like a couple inches difference of all these from Ben Simmons becoming an actual guard. How tall is Ben Simmons now? 6'11"?
6'10", 6'11"?
God, I want RJ Barrett to be a point guard.
Well, your point guard wistfulness notwithstanding. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that we've learned over this early part of free agency.
Well, this is what I need your help with. Because big moves in Brooklyn, right? Huge moves in Brooklyn. And who else? The Lakers, huge moves, right? So I found myself thinking, like, a lot of things can go wrong. After watching Durant and Clay go down in back-to-back games, it kind of resonated in my brain where I'm just like, oh, there's too much on the table. Something's going to go wrong in Brooklyn. Something's going to go wrong in LA. Like, you put too many eggs in the basket. And the Warriors didn't. Like, aside from those two great players that went down, they had a bench. Looney was 50%. He was still in the game. Curry, still at full strength. Draymond Green, still balling. So they had like a whisper of a chance. These teams, if one or two of these guys go down with just like a hamstring tweak or a groin, it's a wrap.
Yeah, for sure. I think my takeaway from what we've seen with, like, say, Golden State, and how even earlier this year, like very recently, it felt as if this was going to go on forever.
Yeah.
That this Warriors dynasty
We were counting 6.
would just churn along and grind us into submission and would just, this idea of forever that was attached to it until they were done and that quartet was expired.
And I'm going to be the awful guy and be like the simulation aspect of it, right? Because like the NBA is the most predictive sport of all the major sports. So when you create this team, you're just like, oh yeah, you're good for a championship. We don't kind of have to watch until Kevin Durant hurts himself and then snaps his Achilles.
But it's odd to see the dissolution of the Warriors when it felt like such a dismal inevitability for the foreseeable future, and then it's just poof. And to your point, we're looking at Durant and Kyrie in Brooklyn with all these young pieces and a smart organization, and you're like, yeah, but that might just go up in flames. The Sixers had acquired 3 stars. We're a bounce away from...
Yeah, Okafor's not even on the team anymore.
Okafor, Noel, Rashawn Holmes.
Roten.
But the Sixers had their 3 stars. They were a bounce away from almost winning a title and really winning a title. But now it's a different team. The Raptors just won, and Kawhi might leave. We're sort of seeing the NBA, just a hint of this, move towards the NFL a little bit in that way, no sin bin, that the parity isn't as far away as people might think.
Well, yeah, I mean, this is tough because the Patriots win every year, but there is parity. Parity is such a tough word. In baseball, the Red Sox have won quite a bit, but the Royals also won.
This is all very results, not process.
Yes,
and
exactly.
it flies
exactly.
in the face of everything we actually believe about basketball,
Yes.
which is if you have LeBron James, you get to go to the finals.
Yeah.
But it does feel a little like a dawn of a new day, even if it isn't.
Yeah, and we don't, at this recording, we don't really know where Kawhi's going to go. I'm assuming Lakers. But last night, Windhorst was trying to talk about maybe this is the end of the dominant Big Three era because we've dissolved all these super teams, and maybe we might be entering a parity era, which to me, like you said, is kind of a results-based observation because all this league is the accumulation of the personnel. And we have a LeBron and we have an AD. There is not a LeBron for every generation.
And that's probably why parity feels a bit more on the table is just because LeBron didn't make the playoffs.
Yeah.
Because when LeBron had his reign of terror in the Eastern Conference, you never would have said there's parity on
dark
the
ages.
horizon. It's like, no, he gets to go to the finals every single year. Like, parity is an illusion.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
the opposite of that. And now it's like, oh, LeBron pulled up lame. It's like a new dawn has arisen, but maybe it has. But now that we're talking this out a bit, my realization is that it's probably the way that player mobility has changed the sport. That there's such turnover and guys going left and right because contracts are shorter, there's more player outs.
Player agency as well.
And I think that's kind of what we're seeing is that it's not that the big three era is over, because if Kawhi goes to the Lakers, they have a big three. If Jimmy Butler had re-signed with Philly, they'd
still have a
arguably
big
have a
three.
big three. I don't think there's anything we can draw other than it's going to be chaotic like this a lot. And there's going to be massive turnovers and shifts because now players are far more liberated in deciding for flippant bullshit reasons where they want to go.
Have boomers stopped caring as much? Are we seeing like the decline of boomerism? Because like players are not behaving like boomers anymore. They're just like, oh, I just want a player option out, so to see if my homie wants to like go team up.
Okay, I'm interrupting this. We just got a news breaking update. Nas announces July 19th release date for Lost Tapes 2.
Brooklyn! Oh, Illmatic came out, what, like 55 years ago? Classic.
Yeah, knocks Elvis Presley off the charts. Restricted free agent Daniel Theus has agreed to a 2-year, $10 million deal to stay with the Boston Celtics.
What?
Let's go. Run it back.
Procedural.
Beantown.
The Lakers are running out of players to sign. So the Lakers players left over, Jeremy Lin, Carmelo Anthony, Amon Shumpert, they're all going to be that Knicks team, man. That's all that's left.
Isn't that the dream?
Well, boomer players stay boomer, right?
All right, here's a theory about Kawhi. If he wants to go to the Clippers, and he's dedicated to going to the Clippers, and has let the Clippers know that he's going to the Clippers, because otherwise this theory doesn't make sense. If he's going to the Raptors, this doesn't work. But if he's going to go to the Clippers, fucking around and leading the Lakers on while all these other people get
The most
signed,
dastardly move.
and then signing with their rival in the same city, really screws over the Lakers in a way that he couldn't have done if he just met with the Clippers and quickly signed.
My contention is he's already done that. Even if he signs with LA, he screwed them over. By waiting those 72 hours, all these players that the Lakers wanted, even New York Knicks legend Reggie Bullock, that was like a number one priority for Pelinka.
But
He overpaid.
At least if you're Kawhi and you've screwed over the Lakers, the consolation prize is yourself. Like, I know
you
I did you
create
dirty,
that
but
thing.
you do get me.
Yeah, you create that opportunity for sure. And they would become favorites to win, absolutely. But like,
But if you go to the Clippers, like, woof.
Melo is a lock either way, right?
I mean, the thing is,
Boogie.
I don't want to talk about Boogie. It hurts too much. But Boogie, I guess they have to sign Boogie. There's a lot of guys. There's enough guys out there. I think some of the dudes we just mentioned, those mediocre
Shumpert.
guards who are cheap. Get a few of those guys. But the ranks of unsigned, uncommitted players are dwindling.
I think it's over. It's not over, obviously, but I think, you know how a fan base or a front office always gets their guy and like, all we have to do is surround him with shooters. Show me these shooters. They cost money. Like, Bullock is not cheap, and he's not even one of the top tier guys. JJ Redick costs a lot of money, and he's just a specialist. Like, there's not shooters out there.
Guys went for more money than I thought.
Some guys, and some guys a lot less. Like, Cantor getting 5 is hilarious.
Danny Green is still out there. I could see him joining the Lakers.
They don't. Well, if they don't sign Kawhi, I think they will. Danny Green's not playing for like nothing. He's probably
but
gonna
if they
get 15.
don't get Kawhi,
They have to get
to
Danny
me they
Green.
have to go get Danny Green, get a 3-and-D guy to play on the perimeter with LeBron. That's a great fit for that team.
I just
Although
remember
he's old, but he's a good fit. And then you've got like Kelly Oubre,
he's expensive though. I mean, if they have the space.
Marcus Morris or Morris,
This is going to age poorly because the minute we stop recording, this is going to be.
Jabari Mudiay, KCP, Rondo season.
Yo, I'm so proud of the Knicks for not having Evan Turner or Jabari Parker yet. It's going to happen, but woo! Shout out to the Knicks.
I love cookies.
Let's end it there. Shout out to the Knicks. Job well done.
Job done.
Mission done. Cookies.